What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Michael Lab Show, episode 214. Happy Tuesday, happy morning, happy evening, happy afternoon. It is cold outside. It is hard nipple weather. It's getting a little chilly. The past 2 days, I've gone outside, and my first thought was shiver, shiver. ZYXW. All right, ZYXWVUTSRQPONMLKJIHGFEDCBA. That's the alphabet backwards. How's everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of the Michael Lab Show, episode 214. Happy August 2nd, August 3rd. Happy August 3rd. We are moving into the winter. We're moving into the fall. It is officially pumpkin spice season. And I'm not lying. It is actually pumpkin spice season. We have pumpkin spice coffee at this house. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not ashamed to say it. Listen. Sit down, open your ears, and listen to what I'm about to say. I like pumpkin spice a lot. It's great coffee. It's great coffee. You can only drink French vanilla so much. And I know that is I sound like a Caucasian chica de Caucasian, white girl. But that's all good. It's all good. I don't care. I like the pumpkin spice coffee. So I've been taking the pumpkin spice coffee, and I've been adding a little bit of this sweet oat milk that my lovely girlfriend convinced us to get, and it's very good. I'm getting over the fact that I'm sucking on the oat's tits. I'm sucking the milk out of an oat, which is fine. It's okay. It's better than sucking on the cow's tits, because milk is from cows is weird, man. I'm not much of a milk drinker. I do not drink milk. I try to keep my distance from it as far as possible. It's just not my thing. It's not my thing. I used to drink skim milk back in the day, but not anymore. Yeah. So happy August, guys. It's going to be September before we know it. I'm going to be a half century old. I'm going to be 25 years old. And I'm going to tell people right now, this time next year, we won't be here. This time next year, we're going to have a brand new studio. Hey, Michael, 2022, listen here, buddy. You're going to have a brand new studio, and you're going to like it. And you're going to look around, and you're going to be like, oh, this is nice. You're going to have guests in. My dog's about to bark. We're going to be able to get away from that. It's going to be a huge year. I'm telling everybody right now, and if you're listening right now, stop what you're doing. If you're driving, don't stop. Keep going. Keep driving. But if you're doing anything that doesn't put your life in danger, if you stop, just stop. Use your brain, turn it on, and think for a second. Think about where you are right now, and think about where you could be in a year. That's a huge time period. 1 year is a huge time period, and a lot can change, and a lot can happen. And I'm telling you right now, this podcast is going to be in a new location. It's going to have guests on regularly, and I'm excited for this year. This week specifically is a huge week for me, for two reasons, and I can't share either of them. But all I want to say is thank you so much for everyone who has shown this podcast support, who has given me support, who has called me weird. Like, this is strange. This is an odd thing, but every time I've been called weird in my life, which is by everybody, I've like strange, different, odd, extraterrestrial. That one's my favorite. Different, weird. I think I really do, from the bottom of my heart, I thank everybody for that, because it's taken me a long time to just really figure out. I've been in two professional settings three professional settings in the two settings in the last week. And I have found out that people have called me like a creative, and it's something that I've never processed in my own head. I've never thought of myself that way. And I still don't. I don't think I really still do technically. Dude, this is my mic. This mic has been spat on for over 200 episodes. But I really do. I thank everybody from the beginning of Silence, even if you listen, and I'm sure there's a few people who listen back from Call of Duty, back in 2012 and 2013 when I was putting up Call of Duty videos, to Silence Fitness, to now the podcast. If you have been on that journey since day one, I can't explain to you how thankful I am for the support I've received, the criticism I received, and the love I've received, and all the compliments and everything. I can't thank you people enough. So I mean, basically what I'm saying is this podcast is going to have a huge year. I'm going to have a huge year. Taylor and I are going to have a huge year, and I'm pretty fucking excited. Can't curse on the podcast anymore. I'm pretty freaking excited, man. It's going to be good. It was a good weekend. Taylor and I have been traveling, not like traveling to different states, but we're looking for a place, right? In the next 6 months is kind of what we're aiming at. She's looking around for a career. I'm looking around for job opportunities, finishing up school. And we've been looking in a few places. And I think this past week we went to the Wheaton, Bethesda area. And then the week before that, and also on Sunday, we also visited Baltimore again. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen The Wire, but Baltimore is a rough city. It's not even like, when people say like there's rough parts. Baltimore is just a rough city through and through. Like the moment you get into Baltimore, it's nothing but just homelessness and drug usage and poverty everywhere. And it's sad, dude. It really is sad. You can look it up right now. Like one of the most violent cities in America. Here you go. The most dangerous cities in America. This is from updated November 9th, 2020. I don't know what this is from. Rochester, number 50. We're just going to go all the way down to the top 5. And it's sad. It's and I'm going to give a few reasons why. Detroit, Michigan, number 1. Number 2, St. Louis. 3, Memphis. 4, Baltimore. But for Baltimore is the violent crime rate is 1859 out of 100,000 people. 348 people were murdered in 2019, compared to the number one city, the number one most violent city in the country, according to this, which is from CBSNews.com, is Detroit, Michigan, and they do it on violent accidents per 100,000. But if you just look at murders alone, 275 in Detroit, 194 for St. Louis, 190 for Memphis, 348 for Baltimore. And it doesn't even get higher. It doesn't, like, there's no other city that even comes close. Yeah. So like Stockton, California, 34 murders. It's brutal, man. It's sad. It's sad when you go to this place, you can tell there's nothing there. There's no infrastructure. There's no grocery stores. There's no places for jobs. Like, if you Google like why did Baltimore collapse, a lot of it has to do with jobs, right? A lot of it has to do with, it used to be like a blue collar town. It used to be a town where there's factories and like, you made money off of like the Bay and stuff like that. And you didn't make a lot of money, but you made enough money to like live middle class, right? And then over time with this increase of technology, and this increase of offshore manual labor, there's no need to pay people a certain amount of money anymore. So you move the jobs, you take them, and you go to other countries or you go to other cities, specifically other countries. And you see that with Michigan. You see that with Detroit. All those cities I just listed right there are all cities that used to be blue collar working areas, places where, you used to use your hands and you would make things, and you would get dirty. Or, like, it sounds dumb, but you would get dirty and you would make things. And by doing so, you weren't rich, but you had a modest way of living. And as time goes on, and I'm a hypocrite, right? Because when you get into these corporations, you have to constantly increase your profit margin. You got to constantly increase your revenue. And on years and decades, when you can't increase your revenue, how do you increase the profit margin if you can't increase the revenue? You got to cut expenses. And the issue with cutting expenses is sometimes you're not just cutting, expenses, you're cutting human lives. And that's what happened. That's what happened in the Baltimore area. That's what happened in the Detroit area, St. Louis area. Like, these jobs have went from blue collar towns to technology based and finances. And the crazy thing about finance, and I know I'm a hypocrite by saying this, but the thing about finance that's so I guess upsetting is that it requires no manual labor, right? It requires no driving back and forth. It's just moving of money. Like, that's how you make your most money. You just move money. Like, if I invest into Amazon at $1,000 a share, and I wait 20 years and they go up to $10,000 a share, and I bought 10 shares, 900 times 10, $9,000, right? I just made $9,000 in 10 years. You can do the math. It expedites very quickly. But for doing what? Just moving money, just putting in money and then taking out money when I have a net positive. Putting in money, as long as I don't sell the principal and I just take off the returns, I'm good. I'm not losing. I'm just winning. I'm just taking profits off the top. And this has created a catalysm. Just try to use big words, but this has created a country where there's cities where they've been able to keep up with the finance world because those businesses are based out of these worlds or based out of these cities. So the cities benefit from that, or it creates a world where there's no major tech in any places in Baltimore, right? And there's some businesses, but like all the businesses, the headquarters usually aren't there, and a lot of it's offshore. And it's created this world where now a lot of people just don't have jobs. And if they do have jobs, they have these dead-end jobs. And they work at dead-end jobs for corporations. Like Royal Farms is a huge company here in Baltimore. And yeah, it's a big company, but guess what? $7.25, $10, $11. That's what you're going to get paid around there. Even if you're a manager, you're going to get paid $12, $13, $14. And where are you going to live, right? You can't live in Baltimore because it's all crime-ridden. It's all broken, but you don't want to live somewhere else, right? You don't want to live somewhere else because that's expensive to live somewhere else. And then you couple the expulsion of blue collar jobs overseas and replacement of technology and finance jobs that require no manual labor. They just require time and moving of money, which, by the way, is something that you're taught. And the thing is about intelligence and education is not equal, right? Like, take me for example. I came from an affluent family, right? I came from a good family, right? Like, not college educated, not like the wealthiest, family around. But I came from a family where I'm at least put in schools and situations where I can maybe run into somebody who teaches me about investing, who teaches me about saving money, who teaches me about credit score, who teaches me about getting a loan, who teaches me about investing into myself instead of just running my money out. I've been in a situation where I at least can possibly trip over one of those scenarios. If you're from a place where that's not even a question. And if it does come along, it sounds so crazy, and you speak to people closest to you about it, and they look at you like you have 8 heads, because that's not reality, right? That's not reality. So even knowledge has found a way to be systematically broken into different communities. I know people close to me and my family, my family, where I speak about these things, they look at me like I have 8 heads, And if I come from an affluent area, just imagine what it's like if you don't come from an affluent area, if you just come from nothing. and it's part of this. It's part of this cyclical cycle. It's part of this cycle that people find themselves in. And then on top of that, if you introduce, I haven't seen the TV show The Wire, which I need to see because I hear it's so accurate. Okie dokie. I'm doing a podcast. Will be done at 15, 20, 30, at 9:20. Because if you find yourself in these cycles where, the TV show The Wire, I haven't seen The Wire, right? I haven't seen The Wire, but I understand the gist of it, right? Where these, when, in order to lose a limb, you got to get it cut, right? And then it has to get infected. You can save your limb if you get it cut and you don't let it get infected. But if you get a cut and then it compounds into an infection because you don't fix it immediately or because too many things happen, you lose your limb. So you have these cities where they lost their jobs, right? They lost their jobs. And then you have people who lose their jobs and then they have a corrupt mayor, right? Because Baltimore has had list of corrupt mayors. In, oh, there we go. It just comes up right there. List of corrupt Baltimore mayors. List of mayors. Lists Maryland leaders in the history of corruption. So you have this lady right here. Mayor Shelley Dixon. In 1987, Dixon was on the seat, so she was a corrupt lady. Maryland State Delegate Cheryl Glenn. Cheryl Glenn is another prominent Baltimore leader who got caught up with corruption. She was elected in Maryland General Assembly in 2007. Glenn was among the 3 people elected representing the 45th District located in East Baltimore. In December 2019, Glenn suddenly registered from the General Assembly. Several days later, U.S. Attorney Robert Hur accused her of accepting $33,750 in bribes and charging documents. Federal prosecutors alleged that from March 2nd, 2018 to 2019, Glenn solicited accepting monetary bribes to effect, advocate, and vote on certain bills regulating the opioid treatment clinics, liquor license, and expansion of the state's medical marijuana industry. Glenn pleaded guilty to 2 criminal counts on January 22nd and awaits sentencing on May 8th. Here's another lady. Tawana Gaines was a once powerful member of the Maryland House of Delegates, but last year was sentenced to serve 6 months in prison on federal charges of misusing campaign dollars. What else? Here's another one. Another longtime lawmaker caught up in corruption was Nathaniel Oakes. Nathaniel Oakes was a House of Delegates from 83 to 89 when he forfeited his seat after being convicted of theft charges from $10,000 for double billing expenses to the state in his official capacity in his campaign fund. He was reelected in 1994 after that. In May 2017, State Senator Oakes was indicted on 9 counts of wire fraud, and bribery in connection with an influence peddling scheme. Court papers said there was probable cause to believe that Oakes accepted thousands of dollars in cash as well as free tickets to Baltimore Ravens games in exchange for using his office to assist a source hoping to land business deals with the city. Awesome. There's another. So yeah, there's 4 right there. So when you put in combination this corrupt city, there's no jobs left there. So you have people who are doing corrupt things because guess what? Even they're struggling. And then you get this huge influx of crack cocaine, just cocaine, but free base is crack, and there's different penalties between crack and cocaine. Same drug, but there's different penalties because there's different races using it, which is obviously extremely racist and extremely detrimental to the black community. When you have the same person who's a JP Morgan, shouldn't say that. When you have the same employee who is a banker at a huge company, who's possibly on uppers, who's possibly doing some type of drug, and it could possibly be cocaine one day, it could be, who knows, and then they get caught, and nothing happens to them because they work at an influential company that makes money for a lot of people. and they're just trying to get the edge on other people. And then you have a young African American male who is doing the same drug, taking it in a different way. He gets pulled over in a city with nothing around him. He's not at work. She's not at work. They both are doing the same drug. They get hit with completely different charges. If that's not a sign of systematic racism, I don't know what is. And so you have this combination of this corruption of, and then you could talk about the police department of Baltimore, which has always had a history of extreme corruption at like the highest degree. If you're taking like a list of like the most corrupted police departments of all time, I would say that they are number one. I would genuinely say that they're probably number one. So you got the corruption of the police, the corruption of the politicians, you got the jobs rolling out of Baltimore, and then you have income crack cocaine. You're going to have a broken city, right? You're going to have a broken city. And just going there, you see this, I don't know, a stark, I think it is. You see this stark divide between just the impoverished versus the attempt to make it not. We went through some cities like Charles Village, Hampton, Camden, Fells Point. You see these little neighborhoods that have been completely redesigned in a way to attract tourism back into the city. I forget the word of it. What is it called when you take a ghetto and turn it into a good neighborhood? What's it called? Gentrification. Yeah, gentrification in Baltimore. Yeah. So here you go. So this is Baltimore gentrification. This is from March 20th, 2019. Baltimore is among 7 U.S. cities that accounted for nearly half the country's gentrification between 2000 and 2013, according to a new study. Of the 1,049 census tracts across the country that experienced gentrification during the time period, 501 fell in those cities, according to researchers. Why is gentrification a problem? Gentrification is a housing, economic, and health issue that affects the community's history and culture and reduces social capital. It often shifts in neighborhoods' characteristics, racial, ethnic composition, and household income by adding new stores and resources in previously rundown neighborhoods. And it's very noticeable in places like Baltimore. And it's sad because you take this city with a rich history of culture, social culture, an impact on the community. The art there is beautiful, and then you come in and you fix it, quote unquote, you fix it, aka you just kick out a bunch of African Americans and you just replace it with a bunch of whites, and then you put these like boutique stores there and a stupid ass Starbucks and like a little fake Italian pizza place. And then you make it impossible for anybody to live. You buy out these row homes that were once hell for a lot of people, were once like the worst housing possible. And you painted a stupid little light blue color. You had a little cute mailbox in it. You jack up the price $200,000. By the way, you bought it off the state because the state put it at a discount. It's like going to Goodwill, right? It's government funded housing anyways. So then the government can just pay it. They can just sell it to the private sector for, you can get one of these row homes. The government owns it. So they probably sell it to, like a private real estate agent for, I don't know, $50,000. You painted a stupid color. You cleaned it. You finally clean out the lead on the inside because the people who lived in it before, they didn't matter, right? No one cared about them because they weren't contributing to society for a number of reasons. We can get into that in a different episode. And then you just jack up the prices, $200,000. The real estate agent makes $200,000. The state's happy because now they're going to get property tax on it. Now, by the way, they also got paid from the real estate agent. And then you put a stupid Starbucks down there. And then on top of that, you put like a little boutique store where all the clothing is the same. And then you put like a little pizza place right there. And by the way, you got to put like a little cute library there. So you're taking the city that once had all this rich culture, and what it needed was jobs back there. What it needed was a much more fair legislation on drug usage. What it needed there was clinics, health clinics, to help people get off of drugs. Or if they did do drugs, they wouldn't die on the streets. They could have another chance at it. You took this city that could have been something beautiful, and you just gave up on it, and you just kicked everybody out, and now they're all homeless. And then what happens is this stupid Fells Point or this Charles Village, the people who live there who are not even from Baltimore, who are not even from the state, who are probably from like San Francisco with their stupid little technology ideas, they come in and then they start complaining about the homelessness. Oh, the homelessness is so bad. The homelessness is so bad. This sucks. There's people shitting in the streets. Like, hey, bro, your house was once lived by that person up the street. You see the person over there with the Baltimore lean who's high off of heroin right now, who's dying right now? That was their house. And guess what? You wanted a stupid boutique with your little cafe Americano with your with your 3 pumps of sugar-free vanilla and 3 Splenda with a splash of whole milk like I had. And you kicked them out. They're not there anymore. And that's how you get a Baltimore. That's how you get a Baltimore. And it's sad. It's sad to see. Because it's a city that has it has great bones, right? It could be so much, but when you strip it away from all its jobs and you put these completely ungodly, unfair drug regulations in place, you pay the cops $20,000 a year so they do sketchy ass shit to pay for their family. You let these politicians constantly corrupt, and no one holds them accountable. They're stealing thousands of dollars every year. You get this hurricane, you get this disaster, and it just comes in and wipes out a whole city. And we've seen it in Baltimore. We've seen it in St. Louis. We've seen it in Memphis. We've seen it in Detroit. And then you see it in like these little suburbs around these places. Brooklyn Park is one in Baltimore. Flint, Michigan is another one. That's what you see, where they don't even have the ability to drink water. They still can't drink water, right? They can't drink water because they don't have clean water, where in California, they don't have water because they use all the water on their dirt. Just think about that. That's crazy. That is such a stark difference between worlds. You have one state that uses so much water. They're in a desert. They decided to build a city. They decided to build one of the biggest cities the world has ever seen in a desert that sprawls out miles after miles after miles. And then just a few miles west or east, you have a city that's literally built in one of the biggest deserts in the country. And everyone just goes there and gets shit-faced and gambles. And they have green lawns into green lawns. And they're running out of water. But if you go northeast a little bit, you have a city where they can't even give their kids a bath. They can't even drink their own faucet water. Because the lead in it is so bad that it will cause cancer in their kids. Or cause them the inability to reproduce. Now, I sound like a hypocrite, right? Because I'm a capitalist, right? I think I am. I invest in companies, and trust me, it messes with me every once in a while. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm aware of all these things, but I want a comfortable life. And I know that in order for me to have a comfortable life, I need money, right? I need freedom. It's a tool. It's the key. I need to put it in the door and open up the door to my life. How do I do that? Well, I can't just trade my time in forever, because if you just trade time for money, you're never going to have enough. You got to expedite it. You got to put it on a diving board. So what's the diving board? The diving board's investing. What's the side effect of investing? Flint, Michigan's, Detroit, Michigan's, Baltimore, Maryland's. These situations where these companies, in order to constantly give profits on their investors, on their stockholders, like me, who I may not be a direct stockholder. I may own an ETF that owns a lot of Apple or a lot of Tesla or a lot of Facebook. They have to constantly give a positive margin. How do you do that? You cut cost. And what happens when you cut costs? There's serious ramifications. There's cities that go under. There's people who die. There's kids in Asia who are working for $1 a day, maybe that much. There's rainforests completely torn apart, right? When you got companies like Hershey, like, you know what I mean? Like, where do you think that chocolate comes from? It just shows up in a little stupid chocolate bar at 7-Eleven? No, there's some person who's a slave, right? They're a slave to Hershey, and they're doing it for a couple cents a day. Same thing with Starbucks. You think Starbucks just pours a nice cup of Joe for you every morning? No. That's blood coffee, dude. Just like if you go to get a ring for your girlfriend or your wife or whatever. That's a blood diamond. There's a reason why they call it a blood diamond, because some kid in Africa and Sierra Leone died for that. Some person in I don't know, where do they make coffee beans? Brazil? I don't know, Venezuela? Where do coffee beans come from? Coffee plants, South America. What country though? Where do coffee come from? Country. Colombia, maybe. Africa in the country. Okay, yeah. No, some kid in Colombia and Ethiopia and Brazil and Vietnam and Indonesia. They slaved away for that coffee bean. Okay, here we go. You think Starbucks is charging you $5 for a venti coffee because the cost of production costs $4 to make? You're out of your mind if you think that. I went to Starbucks this morning. I paid $3.98 for a grande iced Americano with 3 shots of sugar-free vanilla, 3 Splenda, and a splash of whole milk. You're going to tell me all those ingredients, plus the plastic cup, plus the time it took that person to make it, because if you're getting paid $10 an hour, or let's just say you're getting paid $6 an hour, it costs you 6 cents a minute. So it cost that person probably took them a minute to make the coffee. So 6 cents for an employee. The plastic cup's probably what? I don't know, 2 cents maybe. So 8 cents so far. And I don't know all the ingredients. I would go out and I would say they make let me see, profit margin on Starbucks coffee. Yeah, okay. So so according to Coffee Makers USA, the margins of Starbucks Grande Cappuccino are above 90%. Coffee only. So just coffee cappuccino, right? So if it's a $4 coffee, it costs them about $2.10 to make that cup of coffee. That's a 90% margin. That has to continue to grow forever. That has to keep growing over time. Or their stock's going to go down because people aren't going to be getting rich. I see it. I understand. I know the hypocrisy. But at the same time, I think knowing the hypocrisy is much better than not knowing it and just kind of turning a blind eye to it. The world we live in right now, this is because of capitalism. And I know that it has its downfalls. But there should not be a situation where we have cities like Baltimore completely failing, right? There just shouldn't be. And you can see these things that have happened that caused it. You can see the jobs rolling out of there because taxes are too high. You can see that. It's not a coincidence that started falling apart in George Bush and Obama's administration. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that once the war on drugs took hold, these cities fell apart. It's not a coincidence that these mayors and these county executives are constantly getting in trouble for breaking the law, stealing money from their own people. It happens. It shouldn't happen, but it happens. Yeah. I don't know. It's also weird living in Annapolis, which is outside of Baltimore. It's the capital of Maryland, right? And it's one of the most bougie places you're going to find in Maryland. And I'm going to end on this because this is the one thing that upsets me the most. Not upsetting, because I understand most people say things and they actually don't know what the hell they're talking about. And they actually don't mean what they say. And especially what's on social media, they don't mean that at all. You see around here a lot of people who, they talk a lot about things that have to change. They talk about, they talk about struggle. They talk about inequality. They talk about the way things need to be and the way that things are and how wrong they are, while they're sitting at their bar, the local bar in Eastport or Annapolis. And they're going to get back in the Mercedes-Benz to go back to their $2 million house. People do a lot of things. They say a lot of things. But they have no recollection. They have no real life knowledge of what's actually happening. And it is super apparent in this area. I can drive 30 minutes north. I'll be in one of the worst cities in the country. I drive 30 minutes south. I'll be back in Annapolis. The highway system was designed for that. The highway system is one of the things that have led to the biggest gap explosion between the rich and the poor, the middle class and the poor. The highway system. Who has cars? Who has a car? Think about it. Who has a car? Not everybody. And who doesn't have the car? People who can't afford the car. Now, what does a car do for you? Think about it. What does a car do for you? Now, if you're really rich and you live in a very nice area, like let's say, I don't know, like in Eastport, or Davisville where I live, or Severna Park even, a car to you as a high school kid is freedom. Your license is freedom. You can get in the car, waste gas, and do nothing. Just drive around with your friends, smoke a little dope, go have sex behind like some park. Just do something that's absolutely insane. That's all it is to you. But think about what a car is to somebody who has nothing, who grows up in just a cement block with no future ahead of them. A car is a job. It allows you to get A to B working. You can work, dude. That is something that nobody even thinks about that. Nobody thinks about that. I'm guilty of it. I sit here and I want a Tesla. I have a car I have a really nice car. I do. I know I have a nice car. I got a Nissan Altima 2015. It goes 120 miles per hour, 130 miles per hour. It gets me over 500 gallons of gas. It costs $40 to fill up. I have a great car. I have freedom right there in my driveway. But here's the reality of it. That's something that nobody thinks about. They don't think about the stark difference between each other. You have no idea. The highway system has allowed for those who are in a good situation to get in a better situation, and for those who are in a bad situation just have a huge wall and they can never get to a good situation. The idea of living in the I was thinking about this yesterday. I was driving with my girlfriend and I don't know if I said anything to her, but it was just in my head. I was thinking about it. I was like, dude, the idea of looking for a school system is crazy. Just you're a parent and you're actually like, oh man, well, we're going to work in DC, but we need a good school system. Let's go look for a house in a good school system. That's crazy, dude. That's nuts. But that's it. That's it, man. That's what we've created. And I don't know how to fix it. I think there's a lot of ways to fix it too. I think one of the best ways to fix it is to fund the police officers, pay them well, teach them the right training, And if they're not, if they can't make through the training, get rid of them so quick. I think you need some type of universal health care. That's what I believe. I believe money too could help a lot of people, like almost like some type of UBI. And trust me, I'm not like I think a controlled socialism works, right? And I'm very liberal, so I believe in that. I think UBI could work for people. Give them a few $100s a month just to survive. Then you run into the issue of inflation. It's one of the things that sounds good, but I don't know how you can implement it. We need to fix the laws on drugs, dude. And these cops aren't the issue. Like, they're not the reason why these. I mean, they obviously are the issue for a lot of things, but like this legislation, we need to stop demonizing drugs. Jesus Christ! If like just because you do heroin doesn't mean you're a piece of shit. It means you have a mental illness and you're stuck on something that is chemically raping your brain. Like, that's what heroin is. You think a heroin addict loves to do heroin? No, they wanted to do it the first time, and then every other time is a chore. Like, you think they want to do heroin? Like, come on, bro, don't be ignorant. Yeah, we gotta fix that. We gotta fix the drug issue, or not. We don't have to fix it. We just gotta control it. I don't know. I don't know shit. I'm barely educated. I'm gonna keep drinking Starbucks though. I'm an idiot. Anyways, Starbucks has made close to $1 billion more this past year. Their net income has almost doubled. Yeah, it's doubled. Almost doubled. So that's cool. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll catch you guys in episode 215 of the Michael Lab Show. Peace out. See ya. I gotta take a shit. Peace.